Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Lifeline for Daily Living. Yes, this is the place where you can find the answers to your mental health, relationship, and family questions. I'm your host, Jim Hewitt. Glad you've tuned in today. I think you're going to find today's topic very interesting, so I hope you'll stay tuned because we'll be right back. All right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Lifeline for our Daily Living. Glad that you've joined me again this week. I want to talk about something this week and next week that I have a lot of people during the course of a day and a week, a month, a year that come into the office dealing with this particular issue. And the issue is, how do I let go of the past? How do I, there's some things that it could have been a month ago, could have been a year ago, could have been back in our childhood days. It could be a year, whatever the time frame is, that past issue is affecting my present and my future as well. And so, I've had in my office here, over the years, I've had people who struggle with past trauma, past failures, past broken relationships, past hurts, as well as past regrets. There are those who say, on the one hand, well, the past is the past, and let's move on. Let's just get past this. Let's focus on the future and not the past. But it's not a matter of forgetting about the past. There is no mechanism in our brain for forgetting. Okay, I mean, it's not like there's a surgical procedure that they can go in and get into the memory part of our brain and extract certain memories. No, but it is about putting the past into some kind of perspective. I find that we either live in the present and anticipate the future, or we live in the present and focus on the past. And when that happens, we kind of get, we kind of become frozen, in our relationships, and what we, anticipate for the future, or even the present. I like what Isaiah says in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18. Do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I do a new thing in you. Now it shall spring forth, and you shall know it. You shall know it. Wonderful, wonderful words of wisdom there. I want to do a new thing in you, but see, how can you experience a new thing that God has in mind for you if you're focused on the past? It's gonna squelch it. It's gonna limit it. And so God has wonderful things planned for you in the future. Don't remember the former things. Put those in perspective and leave them there in the past. Behold, I want to do a new thing in you. So we struggle with that. Many people struggle with that, and I thought, well, let's address that. Let's address that in a podcast, because I have so many people that come in, in the past as well as currently. I have clients that come in, and this is like the number one struggle. It may be marital relationships in the present, the difficulties there, but it has its origins in past issues, whether it's my family of origin, the family I was brought up in, or whether it was a previous relationship. My trust was broken in a past relationship, therefore I don't trust anybody, and I particularly don't trust you. It's those kinds of things that get us all jumbled up and get us tied up in knots inside. So today I want to focus on four things that I think will help you to put the past in perspective and focus on your present and future. And then next week, I want to do 3 more. So there's going to be 7 altogether. It's 4 this week and 4 next week. And then and I hope you'll take the opportunity to write some things down. If you need to pause this and get a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, do that. If you need to go back and replay this over and over again, I would encourage you to do this. This is a critical issue. This is an important issue, because if you can get a handle on this, if you can get a handle on how your past is affecting and sometimes infecting your present and will impact your future, if you can get a handle on that, your present and your future is going to be a whole lot brighter as you look forward to that. So let's dive right in. Number one, I would recommend that in dealing with and working on the past and letting go of the past, I would recommend that you let go of the baggage. Let go of the baggage of the past. Whether you realize it or not, as long as you hold on to the past, you've got kind of a death grip on it. It serves to weight you down. We need to let it go. And see, here's the thing: you're the one that decides to do that. I can't decide that for you. Other people cannot decide that for you. You're the one who decides to just simply let it go. Let go of that old baggage. Now, we all have baggage, right? I mean, whether it's good, bad, ugly, and different, we all have baggage, right? Here's the important thing. Do you carry that around with you? Do you carry the baggage around with you? Do you carry the weight around with you all the time? This may not be an instantaneous experience now, letting go of this, but it can be a goal that we have. This letting go really is intentional. We have to be intentional. It's not something that we can just kind of sit back in our easy chair and say, okay, when's this going to be let go? When we have to be intentional about it. We have to be intentional in several ways. To focus in on what is it specifically. Now we have to be careful here, because sometimes we don't want to go there, right? I mean, maybe the pain is still too raw. Maybe it's something that we feel uncomfortable with going. That's okay. This is something that you have to be intentional about. And see, being intentional means not being dependent on other persons or external circumstances. Letting go doesn't depend on what other people do or say. It doesn't depend on external circumstances as well. Maybe there's that person back there that did something to you that was awful. Okay, it's not a matter of them asking for forgiveness. It's not a matter of them doing something. It's a matter of you being intentional about letting go. Now, letting go involves a grieving process, and we go through all the stages. Shock and denial. We can't believe that the person did that to me. We become angry. We become depressed, and then we work our way to a sense of acceptance. And when we get to acceptance, that's when we have let go of that baggage. So number one now is to let go of that baggage. Number two, I would suggest that you close that chapter. Close that chapter. Another way of saying it would be, that was then and this is now. Try this sometime. Try reading 2 chapters in a book, your favorite book. Try reading 2 chapters at one time. You really can't do it. Everything gets all jumbled up. The characters of the story get all jumbled up. There's things that happened in the previous chapter that doesn't make sense in the chapter you're reading now. Try doing this. You can't do it. Rather than going back and rereading the same chapter over and over and over and over and over again, close that chapter. Close that chapter in your life. Move on, read about your future. Now, I'm not saying that this is easy. There's nothing easy about this. But sometimes we need to stop reading the chapter over and over and over again. We need to stop replaying the things over and over and over and over again. Because, see, that keeps us focused on the past. and not on the present and anticipating the future. There's no way to read 2 chapters at the same time. Close the chapter, let it go, let it get dusty in your life. Let it get dusty up on that bookshelf. It's no longer, you don't even pay attention to it. You don't reread it again. You don't open it up, because what happens is when you open that up again, or you reread it and reread it and reread it and reread it, then you visit that pain all over again. You visit that hurt all over again. Now remember, I said that it's not about what somebody else does or does not do, says or do not say. Well, I'm not going to let it go until they say they're sorry. No. See, that keeps you glued to the past. That keeps you stuck right there in the past. Close that chapter. I read a wonderful book, this has been some time ago, called Necessary Endings that Lead to New Beginnings. Necessary endings that lead to new. Some things have to come to an end before you can have a new beginning. Some relationships have to come to an end before you can have a new beginning. We have to go through the grieving process before we can have a new beginning. Think about that. Think about it in terms of closing that chapter. Man, it was a good chapter, or it was a horrible chapter. I'm so glad that I'm moving on. Close that chapter and then open a new chapter and look at things from a different perspective. That your story continues. Now, you're the writer of your story. You get that? You're the writer of your story, and so close one chapter and move on to the next chapter. Number 3, and this is a hard one, and that is, I would suggest that you quit talking about the past. Quit talking about the past. Some time ago, I guess probably a year or so ago, my wife and I took our grandson up to where in Ellisville, Missouri, where I was born and raised, and we went to the house where I grew up, and we got to look inside the house and kind of walk the property there, and man, the flood of memories just keep, it just kind of overwhelmed me. We got to go inside, and I got to look at where, it's totally redone in there. There's a business in that house now. And the inside was totally different, and it was kind of hard for me to figure out where our front room was and where our bedroom was, and these kind of things. But see, look, that was my past. And it was a great past. It was a wonderful past. Loving parents, a great family. But I can't. And I was telling our grandson, here's where I used to live. Here's where I grew up, and in the front yard here, here's where we used to play wiffle ball, and we used to play football and soccer, and we'd have the neighbor kids come over and play, all of that kind of stuff. But see, that was in the past. This is now. Now, if I spent all of my time talking about my growing up years and the triumphs and tragedies of that, and all of that stuff when I was a kid, I would miss out on what's going on now. Listen to this now. Quit talking about the past. Your past may have been a good past, and that's great, and you can talk about it in a historical way, but what about if your past was awful? What about if there was divorce in your family, and there was all kinds of dysfunction in your family, and there was abuse in your family? What about quit talking about the past? Listen to what Proverbs 18 verse 21 says. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. What you talk about is what you think about, and what you think about is what you talk about. To continually talk about the past, a past hurt or a past broken trust, is to give power to it in our present situation. See, anytime we just kind of pull all that up to the front, it controls us instead of us controlling it. To continually talk about past hurts literally sucks the life out of us. Just sucks the life out of us. And we become depressed. we become angry, we become resentful to what's going on in our present life. So quit talking about the past. When clients come into my office here and we talk about the past, it's not that we're reveling in the past, it's not that we're going to just stay stuck, but talking about the past gives historical context. Then so when we talk about the past here, childhood, whatever, trauma, whatever, it's in a historical context. We're not going to stay there, but it helps me to understand your past so that I can talk about your future, your present, and your future as well. So number 3, I would suggest that if you really want to let go of the past, quit talking about the past. And then finally today, number 4, and again, I'm going to give you 3 more next week. But number 4, I would suggest that you let go of shame. You let go of shame. Look, let's just face it. We all make mistakes, whether consciously or unconsciously. We all say things that we shouldn't say. We all do things that we shouldn't do. We're human. We make mistakes. We foul up. We goof up. Some of the mistakes are small. Some of the mistakes are large. Some of the mistakes just deal with ourselves. Some involve other people. But I want you to listen to this. 1 John chapter 1 says, if we confess our sin, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sin and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Let go of shame. Many people that walk into my office, and maybe you're like this, they are what we call shame-based. That they live their life out of a sense of shame. The regrets of the past, the things that they did in the past, the things that they just seemingly can't let go of. The Bible says that He is faithful and just to forgive us our sin and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So He forgives us. The Bible says He casts our sin as far as the east is from the west to remember them no more. Then so why live a life of shame? You don't have to. You really don't have to. And if you live a life of shame now because of the past, it's going to affect who you are now and who you will become. It's going to impact how you feel about yourself. It's going to impact your relationship with others. It's going to impact a whole lot of things. And so let go of shame. Let it go. Don't hold on to it anymore. It's not good for you. It's not good for anyone that is in relationship with you. Let go of shame. Now, I've shared four things with you today, and I want to just kind of wrap things up here just a little bit. The Apostle Paul said, this one thing I do, forgetting that which is behind, I press forward toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. It is impossible to live in the present, plan for the future while being consumed by the past. Let me say that one more time. It is impossible to live in the present, plan for the future while being consumed by the past. It is impossible. You have to decide. Letting go of the past is intentional. You have to decide to do that. This is not a matter of dealing with the past. Because if I'm dealing with the past, then the past is ever present with me. This is a matter of looking at it and putting it in perspective and then letting it go. Letting it go. Yeah, we have to talk about it. But we don't have to talk about it all day, every day. It doesn't have to consume our thoughts. The Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. As a man thinks, so is he. Thoughts precede behavior. Thoughts precede behavior. Dealing with the past is not really the answer. The question is, are you going to allow those events of the past and the people of the past to have power over your present and your future? Is that what you want to do? You want to let that have power over your present and impact your future? I hope not. I hope not. And so we're going to look next week again now at 3 more aspects of letting go of the past. I hope I hope you'll tune in. This is so vitally important. This is going to impact what you do now and what you do and as you plan for the future. As you look together with me, you and I together, we look at letting go of the past. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Lifeline for Daily Living. If something I have said today has raised some questions or concerns, there are 3 ways that you can contact me. Number 1 is with calling my office. My office phone is 573-732-4575. Again, that's 573-732-4575. Or you can email me. My email address is lifelineonline@hotmail.com. Again, that's Lifeline, all one word, lifelineonline@hotmail.com. The third way you can contact me is if you're watching this on Facebook, you can private message me. Just go down there to the private message and just send me your information or ask a question. I will respond to you. I promise I'll do that. Those 3 ways you can contact me. So listen, I'll see you right here next week on Lifeline for Daily Living.